There's no denying that Batman and Robin are the most iconic duo that comics have ever produced. However, there is a downside to this team-up. The pair are defined by their friendship, sure, but as with most friendships, they fight, hurt, and disagree every so often. In fact, it's proven to be a constant source of drama in the comics, so much so that writers find themselves revisiting this well time and time again. So with that in mind, I'm Josh from WhatCulture.com, and these are the 10 worst things Batman has done to Robin. Number 10, he made Damian a zombie, pretty much anywhere. Initially, it's difficult to see how Batman saving his son is anything but a classic example of superhero badassery. However, while bringing Damian back to life is a heroic move, and fighting Darkseid to be able to do so is uniquely compelling, there's something undeniably spooky about the process. In trying to bring his son back, Batman basically risks the lives of the whole of Earth by angering Darkseid, who is one of the most powerful villains in the DC universe. More importantly, he clearly doesn't know how the Chaos Shard used to bring Damian back actually works, and has no idea about its side effects, meaning that there was a decent chance the whole plan could have failed or even done awful things to his zombie son. Batman also lies to, experiments on, and actually betrays the Justice League in order to carry out said plan, and luckily this is somehow completely forgiven, as otherwise Damian could have found himself brought back to life just to be the Justice League's enemy number one. When Frankenstein himself tells you not to bring someone back, it might be time to just move on. Number 9, not telling them that he was getting married. Batman and Catwoman's announced wedding in 2016 was the subject of much excitement between fans and in-universe characters alike. However, between these celebrations, there is one panel in particular that stands out, namely the one where we find out that Bruce actually didn't tell any of his collective wards that he was even considering marrying the ex-villain. Sure, nobody wants to hear about their dad's love life, especially when it involves him repeatedly arresting said love interest, but giving them a heads up seems like the very least that the Caped Crusader could do. The best part of all this, though, is that Alfred is the one to let the team know that their father/mentor is getting hitched, which means that Bruce somehow didn't think anyone else needed the memo. Keeping up the secretive nature of Batman is one thing, but when there is a very real chance that a Robin or ex-Robin could have incarcerated their new stepmother, you'd probably think that at the very least, Batman could have texted them or something. Number 8, not telling them anything. Practically every Batman comic contains the hero keeping something hidden from one of his sidekicks. Admittedly, sometimes these things need to be kept secret because keeping secrets, well, is the only reason that Bruce even gets to be Batman. That said, there are also times where Batman keeps vital information to himself just for the sole motive of being able to continue to brood over keeping secrets. Regardless of which Robin it is, every single one has thrown themselves blindly into danger through this, either to find out what's being hidden or because they have no idea what dangers haven't been explained to them by the one guy they are supposed to trust to keep them safe. Although Batman's dark nature means that he is naturally secretive, as I've mentioned, there is a huge line between him not revealing things unless he absolutely has to, and him actively keeping secrets that result in various Robins almost dying. Number 7, being a terrible father. Balancing being a businessman and also secretly being Batman is a lot of work, especially when you have to take care of the kids on the side. But given Bruce's motivation to adopt all of those Robins is to help them allegedly, then his often unstable behavior around them isn't really excusable. Although everyone wants to learn sweet ninja moves from Batman, he is also supposed to be helping them with their issues, which often go ignored. Admittedly, this ranges between writers, as some have Batman in the role of total team dad, whereas others have him be as much of a threat to his sidekicks as the villains themselves. Usually we see that Bruce genuinely cares about his wards, but for all this we see little of him actually taking care of them. Maybe because this would be considered less interesting than watching him beat people up, but still, a little variety never hurts. Batman isn't the worst dad in the DC universe by a country mile. I mean, he even kind of beats Superman in most continuities, but it has to be said that every Robin has at some point needed him to be a father figure, and he often fails at living up to that. Number 6, making Dick be Batman. Being Batman is kind of a thankless job. You get cool powers, sure, and some solid cardio in, but it's also kind of the worst job of all time and leads without fail to an untimely death. That said, the fact that Batman so often insists that Robin number 1, Dick Grayson, take his place should he go missing or die is actually kind of a dick move, as it's more or less a death sentence for his eldest child. The whole reason Dick left Gotham and his mentor in the first place was to attempt to gain some independence away from Batman, and so making him come back to take the role takes a steel crowbar to any freedom that he did gain while away. Now yeah, it's clear that Gotham needs a protector, but given that Dick has been protecting it since he was in green boy shorts, it probably seems only fair that someone else takes one for the team, or at the very least, that he at least gets to choose to, instead of Batman volunteering him for the pointy-eared death sentence. Number 5, basically everything with Jason Todd. While many comics pay tribute to the fact that Jason Todd's death was a large event in Batman's life that he gave many monologues over, it's also worth noting that when Jason did come back to life, it was Batman's duty, both as his mentor and his legal guardian, to help fix his broken mental state. And yeah, again, attempts are made, but Batman basically gives up with the excuse that Jason has always had an untamable dark side. This would be fine from any other hero, but given that this is from the same man who manages to deal with not only his own inner darkness, but also the murderous instincts of his son, it is a poor excuse. This isn't to say that Batman is totally in the wrong. I mean, a large part of Jason Todd's anger could only be fixed by killing the Joker, which would of course go against the principles that made Bruce Batman. However, since Red Hood became a hero again, the two have repeatedly saved and clearly cared for each other, meaning the bad blood between them could have been patched up if the Dark Knight devoted but a second of the time that he puts into literally anything else. Number 4, beating him up. Almost every other comic with Batman and a Robin includes a scene where the dynamic duo turn on each other. From a plot perspective, it's a great way to get fans invested, as nobody wants to see either of the heroes lose, especially at the hands of their former ally. From a logical point, however, some of these fights are sketchy as hell, as Batman has more than once hurt his wards, who are children, over some minor things, such as enjoying punk music. Though his questionable behavior was more of a problem in the gold and silver ages of comics, when apparently beating your children up was only a morally grey area, I guess, it's still apparent in a lot of modern comics too, meaning that we can't completely peg this weirdness on older comics' crazy shenanigans. Between fights where Robin is just trying to calm Batman down before he hurts somebody, see Batman White Knight and Superman/Batman as two prime examples, to Bruce basically disowning him for not supporting his paranoia in the ironically named World's Finest number 153, all examples serve to show us that even Batman's closest allies aren't safe from his wrath. Number 3, torturing him. There has been genuine speculation by fans that Frank Miller's All-Star Batman and Robin was actually a parody comic. Although it seems unlikely to be true, there is something about watching Batman kidnap Dick Grayson, immediately put him into a life-or-death car chase, and then trap him in the Batcave, making him eat rats to survive, that makes you hope that, yeah, maybe that's true. As it stands, it's not, sadly, and so the treatment of Robin in the series is possibly the worst thing within it. Which is impressive when you remember that this is the comic where one of Joker's minions has literal swastikas tattooed on her literal breasts. Oh my lord, what a sentence. Comics are weird. Worse yet, Robin is still 10 in this series, and so every awful thing done to him is being done to a boy who is just old enough to learn to tie his shoelaces. All this in mind, it makes complete sense that in this comic, the Justice League are actually after Batman, and we can only hope Child Protective Services are as well. Number 2, blowing him up. Batman Odyssey is one of the weirder Batman comics to date, containing a man who can turn into bees, several domesticated dinosaurs, and a wizard who speaks in 1940 slang, to name but a few parts of the wild read. Let me put it this way, if you've ever wanted to see Batman unironically use the phrase jazz magician, then now is your time to shine. It's entirely possible that this comic was written by just picking words out of a hat and making them into a story, which is the only logical way that the writers would have Batman knowingly kill Robin in an explosion and then feel literally zero remorse for it afterwards. Honestly, the whole interaction is absolutely hilarious, as the speed with which Batman goes for the detonation button makes you wonder if he'd just been looking for any excuse to get rid of his ward up until now. Robin appearing in the next issue doesn't even excuse this, by the way, as he literally states that he wasn't sure if Batman would blow the place up before he could escape, showing us that the fact that he isn't dead is more down to lucky timing than anything else. Number 1, making the role of Robin. Although the physical and psychological damage carried out on various Robins over the years has at points been downright abusive, the worst thing Batman has ever done to any of them has been the one thing that he can't prevent, namely from taking the role of Robin. While many storylines have shown that practically every Robin would continue to fight crime without the Caped Crusader's consent, even this is his fault for creating the role in the first place. Now yeah, Batman does warn them, but it's in a sort of classic brooding manner that actually makes the whole thing look a lot cooler than it did in the first place. Every Robin does a good job in their role, but at the end of the day, they're still kids and teenagers who are essentially becoming child soldiers, and Batman, despite the fact that he knows they'll get hurt, doesn't stop them. Essentially, Batman has convinced a series of children to fight convicted serial killers. And while yeah, they may be good at it, you can't help but think that people who aren't old enough to drive maybe shouldn't be placed in intensely dangerous situations, all because a man with parent issues and a cool cape has decided that they're ready. So that's our list. I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. Are there any other crazy Batman and Robin moments I missed off here? And while you're down there, could you please give us a like, share, subscribe, and head over to What Culture Comics for more lists like this on the regular. Even if you don't though, I've been Josh. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.